Tonight, Christmas spoiled for millions of Australians. The Reserve Bank delivers its 8th rate hike in a row. The Prime Minister in isolation and under fire for putting off a meeting on energy prices. From Cheers to Look Who's Talking, Hollywood mourns the death of actress Kirstie Alley. Police crack down on unruly travellers as the holiday season kicks off. Sydney hit by thousands of lightning strikes and a cool change till the end of the year. And an impressive piece of cricket history about to come Nathan Lyon's way in Adelaide.
This is 9 News with Georgie Gardner.
Good evening. It's the Christmas present borrowers certainly wouldn't have wished for. The 8th consecutive rise for the official interest rate. Another 0.25% increase today takes it to 3.1% as the Reserve Bank desperately tries to curb spending and inflation.
Less than 3 weeks until Christmas and it's clear the rush is on as shoppers head to the stores. But as a Reserve Bank governor charged with halting surging inflation, Philip Lowe wants to be the Grinch, discouraging us from spending at a time of year when we're most likely to.
We do need to get consumer spending to slow, overall demand to slow, so we bring down some of those pressures in the economy. 8
rate rises in a row have certainly put a dampener on Sammy Baker's spending. She bought her first home in July. Since then, her variable interest rate has more than doubled.
Have different priorities where my money's going, not going out as much, budgeting on certain groceries, making sure I'm, being efficient with my fuel.
But not everyone's heeding that message yet.
Retailers are expecting anything but austerity, lifting their forecast for pre-Christmas spending by $2 billion to a record $66 billion. That's up 6.4% on last year. Trouble is, the more we eat, drink and be merry, the more it gives Philip Lowe indigestion.
Since the first rate rise in May, today's rise will mean a borrower with a standard variable loan of $750,000 will be paying $1,251 extra each month.
They would be a little bit concerned if we splurged too heavily over Christmas and that led to some bill shock in early 2023, because we know there's some other big bills that will be landing around mortgage repayments and energy payments.
With more rate rises on the way, economists say the RBA will be watching consumer spending closely.
If they do stay very strong, then that will be a concern for the RBA and will keep them hiking potentially for longer than we currently expect.
For those on variable rates, only about 60% of this year's increases have actually flowed through, so the full effect is yet to be felt. Then there are the borrowers coming off record low fixed rate loans next year who'll see their interest rates double or triple overnight. Even the RBA's own data shows that more than half of all borrowers will see their spare cash disappear by between 20% and as much as more than 100%, meaning some will be in the red.
I think probably the best advice through this period is to plan ahead and look at how your finances are going to be affected next year before getting too carried away over Christmas.
Eddie Meyer, 9 News.
And the banks have wasted no time in passing on the rise. Westpac and NAB announcing 0.25% increases to their variable home loan rates. NAB from December the 16th, Westpac from December the 20th. Australians are being asked to wait a little longer for a national power plan as the Prime Minister recovers from COVID. State and territory leaders will now meet on Friday, but the government insists that won't delay the impact on energy bills.
With COVID at Kirribilli House on a sunny Sydney day, the Prime Minister with little time to relax.
The Boss's Bug impacts National Cabinet, which will now be held on Friday. Energy ministers will proceed as normal on Thursday.
The meeting delayed, the help not. A combination of commodity price caps as well as greater domestic gas reserves and regulations to be put to the premiers on Friday.
High prices for our commodities are helping the budget a bit, but they're hurting the economy a lot.
Putin's war in Ukraine has flowed through to coal and gas prices all around the world, and it's affecting Australian families.
Right now we are amidst an energy crisis. It'll only get tougher, it'll only get harder.
There'll be no delay to price relief, the PM says, with the impact of price caps still months away. The federal opposition tonight seizing on division within Labor over nuclear power.
There are some sensible heads in the Labor Party, and I hope those heads can pluck the head of Anthony Albanese out of the sand.
Briefings have continued at departmental level with initial information on a proposal provided late this afternoon. Small business ministers packing presents when they gathered today.
Small businesses and households who are already under budget stress are really going to be faced with some tricky problems if this goes on.
The Prime Minister continues to work from here at Kirribilli. The opposition, though, critical of his decision to delay the National Cabinet meeting scheduled for tomorrow.
COVID is a disease which has an impact. The Prime Minister's got it. I think it was pretty low rent for the opposition to make cheap political points.
He promised that he wouldn't waste the day. He's wasted 6 months. Get on with it.
And Nine's political editor Charles Croucher joins me now. Charles, how likely are states to sign on?
Oh, Georgie, there will be an agreement. The question becomes how much it will cost the Commonwealth. Today's interest rate rise, combined with the inflation and forecast energy price rises, mean to not get a resolution this week would be to subject millions of Australians to extreme financial hardship, and things are already hard enough. The premiers know that, Georgie. The Prime Minister knows that, and that's really the backdrop for the meeting this week.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Paramedics were airlifted onto beachside parkland at North Narrabeen this afternoon to treat a woman aged in her 70s who'd crashed her car after suffering a medical episode. The woman was taken to Royal North Shore Hospital but could not be revived. Hundreds of students and teachers were evacuated from class at Homebush Boys High this afternoon as fire took hold of the second story of one of its buildings. The cause of the blaze is now under investigation. Hillsong founder Brian Houston never reported his father's abuse because he claims the victim didn't want police involved. But today, the man raped by Frank Houston disputed that, while another Pentecostal pastor admitted she thought the crime was best dealt with by the church.
His life was destroyed by a pedophile pastor more than 50 years ago, and Brett Sengstock has relived every agonising moment in the stand. A teenager when he told his mother, who years later would let it slip to Pentecostal leaders. The late Frank Houston confessing when confronted by his son Brian Houston in 1999. The Hillsong founder is now accused of concealing the crime from police to protect the church. But the ordained minister claims it was in good faith because Brett Sengstock had told him to keep it quiet. The victim today denied making that request in a phone call with Brian Houston. You said to him, "I am angry that my mother has told anyone. I didn't want it to be made public." That's not any conversation that I recall with him at all. "If anyone is going to go to the police, it'll be me," you said. Disagree. "I don't want to be part of a church investigation either." Is this a conversation I am having with Brian? Those things weren't said. The first church leader to learn of Frank Houston's abuse has been called to the witness box, agreeing to give evidence despite being warned she could incriminate herself. 90-year-old Barbara Taylor agrees she told Brett Sengstock she would not support him if he considered secular legal options. The court could bring justice but not reconciliation. As a pastor, I am into reconciliation. Only in this case, judgment is up to the court. Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
The death of a young woman from meningococcal after attending the Spilt Milk concert in Canberra last month has led to a warning from health officials in both New South Wales and the ACT. Those who attended are being urged to watch out for symptoms: pain in the limbs, headache and a red-purple rash. The 18-year-old woman who just finished high school was from the South Coast. Kirstie Alley was the sitcom queen of the 90s, starring in Cheers, one of the most successful comedies of all time. Her death today, at the age of 71, has come as a sad surprise to Hollywood and her fans after a short battle with cancer.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name.
And after 6 seasons of the hit Cheers, everyone knew the name of the beloved barmaid from Boston.
Don't you stop loving me. I married a plumber.
Kirstie Alley, with that husky voice, always gave as good as she got it and often better.
Well, this place doesn't even look like my office anymore. Thank you. Wasn't easy.
A role of a lifetime for which she will always be remembered. Her 2 adopted children announcing on Twitter, "We are sad to inform you that our incredible, fierce and loving mother has passed away after a battle with cancer." From a small town in Kansas with big dreams, Allie's career began on a game show.
This lady is from
Wichita, Kansas.
Before taking off on Star Trek II.
Stand by. Project parabolic course to avoid entering neutral zone.
She climbed the Hollywood ladder.
Hey, slow down! The first stage of labor can take hours.
Yeah, so can the midtown traffic.
Co-starring with John Travolta in Look Who's Talking.
Wait a minute, I'm not done.
Today, Travolta posted a throwback photo saying, "I love you, I know we will see each other again." By the early 90s, she notched up 2 Emmys.
Thank God I didn't have to wait as long as 10.
On the big screen, It Takes Two was a huge hit.
Drop the bat, let's go!
Just let me smash this ball downtown!
Madhouse and Drop Dead Gorgeous followed.
I know what some of your big city no-bra wearing hairy-legged women libbers might say.
But sitcom brought her the most fame, a show in her own name.
Thank you.
She met me.
And Veronica's Closet. Along the way, she endured the hurdles of Hollywood.
And I'm very enthusiastic about new things, and I was very enthusiastic about cocaine.
Kirstie Alley's Diet Dilemma.
And dealt with her long-running criticism of her weight by turning it into a comedy series.
Is it so much to ask if I have my own television show?
But she never knew how big she would be.
I need my fat pants!
Her popularity dimmed under the bright lights, her belief in Scientology and her support of Donald Trump made her a target.
You know, they always attack the same 3 things. That, you know, I'm a fat, irrelevant Scientologist.
But Kirstie Alley laughed it off, and her fans laughed with her, among them Ted Danson, her co-star on Cheers. She had a heart of gold. I'm so sad and so grateful for all the time she made me laugh. From Cheers to Cheerio. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles has arrived to an honour guard in Washington DC before a sit-down meeting with US Secretary of Defence Lloyd Austin. The 2 discussed deepening our defence cooperation in operations, force posture and technology, with a joint focus on countering military activities in China. Mr Marles and Foreign Minister Penny Wong will next travel to Japan for further allied talks. Australian Federal Police are warning travellers to behave when they fly this Christmas or risk not reaching their destination to see family and friends. Today, the force released a list of the worst flight offenders, and at the top, drunk passengers.
That's it. You're under arrest.
There have been some naughty passengers this year. The AFP charging more than 330 people at airports across the country in the past 6 months and will boost patrols ahead of Christmas.
We will have a zero-tolerance approach to anyone who is intoxicated, who behaves badly, aggressively towards staff.
Most arrests involved drunken behaviour, police responding to more than 800 alcohol-related incidents at airports across the country in the past year. Some for offensive behaviour and assaults. 4 associates of the warring Alameddine and Hamzy networks were charged this year following a brawl at Ballina Airport, where travellers, including a mother and child, ran from the gangsters as they attacked each other in the terminal. And if travellers don't play nice,
They either may not be able to enjoy their holiday or see families and loved ones where they're intending to travel.
more than 2.2 million people are expected to travel through Sydney Airport during the Christmas holidays, 1.4 million through domestic and 800,000 through international.
This holiday season will be a busy one, so it's very important that you come prepared, you arrive early, and don't take out any frustrations on staff or your fellow passengers.
While Sydney Airport has 60 extra staff to deal with the never-ending queues of travellers, 2,000 jobs still need to be filled. Emma Partridge, 9 News.
Hundreds of kilometres away from the front line, Ukrainian drones have reportedly hit 2 Russian air bases, killing 3 military personnel. The facility houses Russia's heavy bomber aviation regiment. Its missiles have been used to destroy parts of Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Having sex outside of marriage is now illegal in Indonesia after a new criminal code was ratified today in the nation's parliament. Protests have since erupted in Jakarta, condemning the sweeping reform, which also prohibits unmarried couples from living together. Belgium's largest ever criminal trial has begun, seeking justice for one of the country's worst atrocities. 10 men are facing court in Brussels, accused of being involved in the March 2016 terror attack that killed 32 people and injured hundreds more. We had the chance today to hear how the state's leaders see our city's future as the Premier and opposition leader pitched their vision for Sydney. Dominic Perrottet promised to educate the world's next Nobel Prize recipients in our West, while Chris Minns caused a stir over the issue of housing.
At Westmead, homegrown researchers are making major breakthroughs.
I converted these skin cells into muscle cells and I did this study and I wrote a paper on it.
And through the looking glass, the Premier sees an opportunity.
We're going to build a new $300 million education campus at Westmead.
A primary school and selective high school for 3,000 students to be built on the doorstep of 4 major hospitals and a medical research hub, all part of the Westmead Health and Innovation District.
Teaming up the brightest minds to support the next generation of leaders.
In back-to-back speeches this afternoon, both the Premier and opposition leader were given the opportunity to outline their vision for our city, and all eyes were gazing west. Labor's Chris Minns setting up a class warfare debate on housing and infrastructure.
Public transport access in North Sydney, Wallara, Lane Cove and Mossman is rated 3 times better than public transport access in Camden.
Arguing the West is being forced to bear the brunt of population growth.
This is about fairness and equity.
But 3 months out from a state election, it's also about winning votes. Liz Daniels, 9 News.
Conwoman Helen Rosamond walked into court today, but she didn't walk out. Her bail revoked as she awaits sentencing for embezzling millions of dollars from National Australia Bank. The businesswoman was last month found guilty of 90 fraud and bribery charges. Today she failed in her fight to stay out of jail, a judge finding a prison term is inevitable. A man's been thrown from his motorbike after being hit by an SUV at Homebush overnight. The 26-year-old is believed to have been struck by a P-plater turning from Parramatta Road into Underwood Road. He was taken to hospital with serious leg injuries. Sydney was treated to a dazzling sky show last night with thousands of lightning flashes. It was a spectacle that also came with dangers. A concert on the Opera House forecourt shut down and the homeward-bound Socceroos were stranded mid-air.
It's Mother Nature in all her glory. A quick but intense electrical storm rolling across the city just after dark. 5,500 lightning strikes lighting up the night sky from Badgerys Creek to the eastern suburbs, 500 of which were ground strikes.
Oh my God.
At the Opera House forecourt, thousands of fans had paid $300 each to attend a Jack Johnson concert. The show called off by police less than an hour into the American singer's performance.
Until we can all meet again, we'll figure this out. Hope you guys had a great time until right now. So sorry.
The Socceroos' flight into Sydney also delayed as the storm passed over the airport.
Boys.
Today, conditions at Coogee were much calmer and significantly cooler, and we're being told to get used to it, with temperatures trending lower than usual up until Christmas.
December as a whole is more likely to end up cooler than average than warmer than average. But we'll still get a few warm days.
This summer is also expected to be wetter than average, and despite the recent sunshine lifting our spirits, we're unlikely to get another long sunny spell until the new year.
End of summer, we're more likely to see those longer stretches of heat and possibly even a heat wave or two.
Kate Creedon, 9 News.
All right, well, let's have a look at today's weather. Hi, Amber.
Hi, Georgie. In contrast to last night's storm, today was pleasantly calm and much cooler than yesterday thanks to a southeasterly breeze. The city falling to 17 degrees this morning before reaching a top of 24 this afternoon, around a degree below average. Penrith was the warmest suburb, climbing to 27 degrees around lunchtime, but most other western suburbs only made it to around 24 degrees. We are in for a hot day tomorrow, some suburbs soaring into the 30s, but the heat won't last. I'll be back with the full forecast a little later, Georgie.
Thanks, Amber. See you soon. The new trailer for Harry and Meghan's documentary has dropped. Next, why they're being accused of hypocrisy. Homes evacuated as fire takes hold in a primary school. A sobering health update on activist Danny Lim after his violent arrest. Plus a stunt about to blow up in a driver's face. And the top toys this Christmas that won't break the bank.